Will Donald Trump go to jail? How will his conviction play out politically? There are so many questions left to be answered, but there is no disputing that point that former President Donald Trump is a convicted criminal. This morning, joining me is former US federal prosecutor Scott Tenley. Scott, thanks for coming on the program. That is one thing we're not disputing.
Right. It's a remarkable moment here in American political and legal history to have former president of the United States, stand convicted of 34 felony counts. And not only that, but to have 3 criminal trials ahead of him. It's really something we've never experienced before and hopefully will never experience again.
Many experts are saying he probably won't go to jail, but there is a chance because, of course, the judge throughout the course of the trial was often fining Donald Trump in regards to contravening the gag order. There's every possibility he may.
That's true. I think if I had to push one way, I would say it's less likely he'll go to jail because this is the lowest level felony offense. He has never been convicted of a crime in the past. He's 80 years old. All those factors weigh in favor of kind of a probationary sentence. But you're right. On the other hand, the judge can look at all the factors in play, and that includes 10 violations of the gag order, his attacks on the judicial system, his lack of remorse, and probably most importantly, the impact of his crime. And it's clear that Justice Merchan believes this did impact the 2016 election. That was the theory of the government, the prosecutors in the case. And that could weigh in favor of, hey, this is such serious conduct that we do need some type of prison sentence.
We saw his address post the conviction, 40 minutes it went for, basically bringing Joe Biden into it, saying that he's to blame, the trial was rigged, the judge was corrupt, I'm an innocent man. A lot of it's just not true.
Absolutely. Donald Trump has used those talking points throughout this proceeding, regardless of whether or not they're true. I mean, first of all, the district attorney of New York is completely separate from Joe Biden and the federal government. He doesn't even answer to the governor of New York. He is an independent prosecutor who used his independent judgment. And really the danger of these comments is that it's undermining the rule of law in our country, which is the cornerstone of our democracy. And that is that we respect the roles of judges and juries in the system. And when Donald Trump comes out and identifies the process as rigged, and saying it's a political sham, that does nothing to move our country forward and sustain the rule of law.
How does it make you feel, Scott, as a former US federal prosecutor, the attack at the very core of the system?
I appreciate you asking that. It is very discouraging to me. You know, I've been in the shoes of those prosecutors prosecuting high profile cases, and there was never a shred of targeting in my bones or in any of the other prosecutors that I've worked with. We have always worked to do justice and present evidence to the jury and allow the jury to make a decision. And when you have somebody who used to be the chief executive of our country, who could be our future chief executive, making those statements and politicizing the legal system, it's taking the entire system down with them. And yes, it's very discouraging, and it was a sad day for America yesterday.
Donald Trump's had sugar hits all along the way, hasn't he? With every mention of a court or sitting in a court. This is different, though. Like he, as it stands, he's unable to vote, but is allowed to be president.
Well, it is remarkable. It does seem like he has evaded scrutiny at every turn. And of course, in the last couple months, that hasn't been successful. There have been civil cases where his businesses were found liable for committing significant and massive financial fraud. In a civil case, he was adjudicated to have defamed a woman from his past, and now this conviction. But on the other hand, the more kind of devastating cases for him, the classified documents case in Florida appears to be in kind of perpetual delay. The Supreme Court is sitting on a case that is holding up the January 6th indictment in Washington, D.C. And then there's an appeal in Georgia over the prosecutor's relationship with a member of her staff. And so it does seem like he has a way of avoiding justice. And here he could avoid jail time and move on and win the presidency. You're right. it's really a remarkable dance he's been able to do.
Absolutely. Scott, thanks for coming on the program. Really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.